12 Shocking Secrets About Jesus' Disciples Revealed at 3 a.m. You Won't Believe 7. In the dead of night, as shadows danced eerily across the walls, a haunting mystery unfolded, one that could change everything. Whispers tangled in the air, secrets begging to be unearthed. They say the truth is stranger than fiction, and what lay ahead would make your skin crawl. At precisely 3 a.m., the hour when most are deep in slumber, revelations began to surface about Jesus' very own disciples. You heard it right, this wasn't just any ordinary story. Imagine Peter, the rock of the church who, under the cover of darkness, was said to have dabbled in the occult, weaving spells that twisted destiny itself. Rumor spilled like ink in the night, claiming pews have echoed with muffled gasps, and the air felt heavier since that revelation. And then there was Judas, marked forever as the betrayer, but was he instead a tragic hero? A struggle between loyalty and fear. Imagine facing those dire choices, his heart pounding, feeling the weight of a world's expectation crashing down. The tales twisted into sinister whispers about hidden treasures buried beneath the ancient stones, treasures that promised to heal the soul or unleash unspeakable horrors. A growing tension buzzed in the air like static electricity, gripping hearts and tightening throats as the clock ticked, each second spilling like quicksand. What happened to the other disciples? Were they still hiding secrets that could shatter faith or even reality? Some said they ventured into far lands, carrying an energy that could spark light or ignite chaos. The suspense was thick enough to taste, drawing even the most cynical into a web of fear and wonder. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Then came the whispered tales of Thomas, doubting yet ever curious. They said he found a hidden scroll beneath the temple. It glimmered under the moonlight, a mystery waiting to unravel. What did it reveal? Was it a confession, a secret language, perhaps even a prophecy? His heart raced, matching the pulse of the night. Was he daring enough to uncover truths better left hidden? But just as the tension tightened, a distant rumble echoed through the streets. A storm was brewing in the heavens above. The ground quivered, a surge of unease, tightening around every listener's chest. What secrets would unfold next? Questions hung palpably in the air. Would they reveal a deeper calling or threaten the very fabric of belief? As we linger at the edge of discovery, the allure of the undiscovered pulls you closer, leaving you wondering what lies ahead. As the storm approached, dark clouds engulfed the moon, casting the world into an oppressive gloom. The air crackled with energy, whispering of ancient prophecies and forgotten legacies. Underneath this celestial tension, Thomas could feel it, the weight of the universe heavy on his shoulders. He tucked the scroll deep into his cloak, its mysteries pulsating against his skin. What had he unearthed? The scroll was not just parchment and ink, it felt alive, humming with a visceral intensity that unnerved him. Did it hold the keys to understanding the disciples' fate or merely lead them deeper into peril? He pushed the thought away, focusing on the path ahead. The trembling earth seemed to guide him, drawing him toward a destiny far beyond what he could fathom. Meanwhile, in another corner of the town, Peter stood at the foot of a crumbling statue of a forgotten prophet. There was no mistaking the shadows lurking within the cracks and crevices, remnants of an ancient dark magic. Heart racing, every breath he took felt like a warning, a reminder of his choices in the dead of night. Had his late-night rituals unleashed something sinister? The memories of chanting echoed in his mind, sending chills down his spine. He squeezed his eyes shut, as if by blocking out the truth, he could erase it, but deep down, he knew it wouldn't work. The darkness was alive, and it was hunting him. Across the street, the murmurs began to swell, drawing curious eyes toward the lone figure of Judas. He felt the isolated weight of judgment pulling on him, but he grasped tightly to the secret he held. He stood at the edge of the market square, where flickering torches cast grotesque shadows. The knife twisted in his heart, not from betrayal, but from the dawning realization that he might just be the only one able to break the cycle of abuse if only he could summon the courage to act. If Thomas discovered the truth within the scroll, if Peter confronted his dark demons, what final revelations would emerge to shatter their world? A collective breath was held as another crack of thunder boomed through the night, as if the heavens themselves held their breath. Then, a flash illuminated the sky and time seemed to stand still. A figure cloaked in robes appeared amidst the storm, a semblance of something divine or perhaps something entirely horrific. The hovering presence drew gasps from those who glimpsed it, while a foreboding shiver crept down every spine. Was it an angel, or something darker? Like moths to a flame, the disciples felt every thread of fate pulling them toward this moment. The air thickened with anticipation. Each of them, Peter, Thomas, and Judas, could sense that this was no coincidence. Their intertwined destinies awaited a reckoning. Just then, the figure raised a hand, its fingertips beckoning them closer. The call was unmistakable, a challenge drenched in secrecy and danger. With a surge of fear and attraction, they felt powerless against the force. What did this being want from them? Would they dare approach, knowing the price could be their lives or worse, their souls? As the storm raged on, the clock ticked toward a fateful convergence. They stood at the crossroads of revelation and despair. The stage was set for a showdown that could reshape their beliefs forever, and as fear locked onto their hearts, they couldn't help but wonder, was the truth worth the sacrifice? What awaited them on the other side of the storm? Thunder rolled ominously, shaking the ground beneath them as the figure's beckoning hand sliced through the heavy air. It was a moment suspended in time, one heartbeat, then another, each echoing with doubt and dread. No one dared to move, strands of lightning illuminating their faces, revealing wide eyes filled with a mixture of terror and fascination. Peter clenched his fists, the pressure building in his chest. "What do you want from us?" His voice cracked, barely a whisper against the roar of the storm. The figure lowered its hands slightly, tilting its head as if it were studying them. Even the wind seemed to quiet, hanging on the edge of a precipice. Judas shivered, glancing nervously at Thomas. "We can't approach it," he hissed under his breath. "What if it's calling to us?" Thomas interrupted, conviction seeping into his voice. "We can't ignore it. This might be our only chance." The words felt weighty, filled with the fear of what lay ahead but also with a flicker of hope. What secrets awaited? Just then, the figure stepped forward, the dark robes swirling around it as if alive. "You seek answers," it said, its voice a blend of thunder and melody. Each word vibrated in their bones, demanding attention. "But answers come with a price. Then you will have nothing from us." Peter shouted, a surge of defiance overcoming his fear. His heart raced, muscles coiled tight. The statue behind him brought to mind forgotten warnings, the pain of truth and the cost of ignorance. Lighting flashed again, revealing a terrifying smile on the figure's face, revealing teeth that gleamed like sharpened silver. "You do not yet understand," it said softly, chillingly. "The past is a mirror, and in it, your souls are trapped. Will you shatter it, or suffer forever?" Like a puppet on strings, an unseen force drew Thomas closer. The scroll nestled against his chest felt like a burning ember, igniting his every nerve. "The scroll," he murmured, almost to himself. "It's linked to this moment." Judas felt a jolt of panic slice through him. "You can't do this, Thomas. Not without knowing what it can unleash." He could see the terror creeping across Peter's face, the fear of revealing the darkness they had all skirted around, but Thomas was fixated, the allure of the scroll overshadowing the dread. As he stepped forward, the figure's voice resonated through the air. "Then, reveal your truths, and your sacrifices." In that instant, a piercing scream shattered the stillness, echoing through the square. They spun around to see shadows, shifting figures materializing from the darkness, eyes burning with intensity. "The darkness is here," whispered a voice that was eerily familiar. It was one of their own, a figure shrouded in despair, twisted by shadows. Peter staggered back, heart thumping wildly. "Who is that?" "The cost," the figure of the storm repeated, beckoning them closer. "What will you lay upon the altar of truth?" With the four figures converging at the precipice of revelation, silence fell. A chilling, palpable stillness enveloped them, broken only by the frantic beat of their hearts. The moment stretched, caught in a dance between fear and longing. The shadow loomed over them, sinister yet mesmerizing. As their breaths quickened, the figure in the storm extended its hand once more, urging them forward. The air crackled with tension, the price of truth flickering in the brimming darkness. Then, lightning split the night, illuminating the figures around them. Each of the disciples felt the ancient magic breathe through their veins, every pulse an invitation, every heartbeat a challenge. What sacrifice would they make in the shadows for the truth? Would they face what haunted their past or risk becoming part of it forever? With the storm intensifying around them, they had no choice but to decide. And just as they took a step closer, thunder shattered the silence, revealing their choice might lead to a fate worse than death, or perhaps uncover a strength they never knew existed. What awaited them on the other side of that storm? Would they break free or be consumed whole? The storm raged on, waiting for a reaction, a response, a conclusion to this game of fate. The figure's hand hung in the air, a gnarled silhouette against the crackling backdrop of the storm. Thunder rumbled like an angry beast, and the ground pulsed beneath their feet. Hearts raced in tandem, a frantic symphony of fear and longing, quickening with every moment of uncertainty. Thomas, entranced, felt the world bleed away, as if the storm had drawn a curtain. "I have to," he breathed, stepping further into the ominous light. His friends called out, their voices drowned by the clash of wind and rain. He felt profoundly alone, yet strangely empowered by the prospect of the truths hidden in shadows. "Thomas, wait." Judas gripped his arm, desperation etched across his face. "The price." "You have to think it's too late to back out now," Thomas replied, his voice steady. He could sense the pull, a magnetic energy coursing through him like wildfire. Behind him, Peter stood immobile, a vision of angst and uncertainty. "No. You are not ready." The figure rasped, finally breaking its silence. "The truth does not bend to your will. Will you sacrifice your past for knowledge?" An uneasy silence stretched as the shadows moved closer, their forms indistinct yet oddly familiar. A dread washed over Peter, a shattering realization that their haunting memories might be manifested before them. "We cannot face the darkness," he shouted, but panic only swept through him. "Yet the darkness is within you," the storm figure replied, its silver smile widening, revealing more of those fearsome teeth. "Secrets, pain, regrets, these are yours, and they will not be silenced." Judas tugged painfully at Thomas's sleeve. "You can't trust it. You know that." But the allure swallowed all doubt, the call of answers wrapped around Thomas's heart like a vice. "Peter," he said urgently, pivoting back to his friend. "What if this is our chance? What if this is how we can finally understand? It's the only way to free our souls." With a flicker of hope igniting amidst the chaos, Peter hesitated. Lightning forked across the sky again, illuminating the horrible visage of their friend's shadow. "No!" he shouted, memories of hurt flooding over him. The weight of their shared past hung like a shroud, threatening to engulf him. Then, as if angered by their wavering, the storm unleashed a torrent, rain lashing against their faces. The shadows hissed like serpents, scratching at the thin threads holding them together. In this moment of chaotic fury, dread transformed into fierce urgency. "Face your agony," the figure commanded, its voice a rage of wind and power. "Face it, or let it consume you whole." With that, the shadows surged forward, their forms merging, pulsating, an army of their regrets and fears unleashed. Familiar faces twisted in agony, the echoes of their past crying out. "We trusted you," one shadow wailed, and memories flooded back, for all of them betrayals, losses, fears long buried. Peter staggered, his chest tight with the burden of unacknowledged guilt. "No, not like this!" he shouted, fighting the urge to flee, but Thomas stood firm. "No more running. If facing this is the price we pay, then let us end the cycle." As he locked eyes with the figure in the storm, it morphed, shadows obeying its command, shifting like the tides. "So, a choice has been made," the figure declared, amusement dancing in its voice, yet cruelty lingered in its tone. The energy crackled in the air, like static before a storm. With a slow, cruel grin, the figure beckoned them nearer, promising both revelation and ruin. "Welcome to the depths of your souls," it whispered. As they drew closer to the precipice of darkness, a chilling weight settled in Peter's stomach. What would they discover if they stepped in? Would it be redemption, or total annihilation? The storm howled, the figures shrieking in triumph as they approached the abyss. A choice hung heavy in the air, thick as the storm clouds above them. And whatever awaited them on the other side threatened to change everything. Would they find the courage to confront their demons, or would they be swallowed whole? A blinding flash of lightning split the sky, momentarily illuminating the cyclone of shadows swirling around them. Thomas felt the surge of energy quicken within him, pulling him forward. "We have to stand together," he shouted, desperate for unity as he cast a glance at Judas and Peter. But the storm was relentless. The winds howled with ethereal voices whispering dark secrets. "You'll lose each other, you'll lose yourselves." Peter fought against the fear creeping into his consciousness, feeling suffocated by the weight of memories clawing at him. "This isn't a game. We need a plan," he yelled, voice cracking as he wrestled with his own despair. The figure loomed closer, shadows stretching like reaching hands. "No plan will save you, child." Its voice dripped with mockery. "Embrace what you are. Accept the darkness." With each word, the past uncoiled around them like a snake, bitter and poisonous. Shapes darted in and out of focus. A face here, a tear-streaked cheek there. Moments he wished he could forget. Betrayals that rolled like stones upon his heart. He gasped, nearly collapsing as the shadows whispered his own failures back at him, echoing through the storm. "Stop. This can't be real," Peter cried, shaking his head fiercely, desperately trying to reject the advancing tide of regrets. Each murmur cut deep. He stumbled backward, losing his footing in the slick mud. "Is fear not real?" came the figure's chilling response. "These are your truths. You summoned them here. Thomas." "We can't," Judas pleaded, gripping Thomas's arm tighter, his face pale and frantic. "This is madness." But Thomas couldn't abandon the hunger clawing at him, the hope of unearthing answers that had been buried for too long. "We'll face it together. We can't hide our pain anymore." His heart pounded, each beat a defiant cry against the encroaching darkness. The storm's fury intensified, the rain cascading down in torrents, blurring their vision. Suddenly, the shadows surged forward, merging into a mass of chaos. Thomas, wide-eyed, jumped to the front, as if somehow believing he could shield his friends from the wrath of their own pasts. Each face in the dark reminded him of choices he wished he had made differently. A fleeting image of Sarah, her trusting smile replaced by betrayal, pierced his heart. "Thomas," she called softly, agony swelling in her voice. "You let me down." "No!" he yelled, clenching his fists. "That's not who I am anymore." The figure cackled, its laughter echoing around them and mixing with the heavy rain. "You wish to believe that, dear child? You think defiance will save you?" Through the tempest, Peter's voice broke in. "Can't you see? This doesn't change anything. Running into the shadows won't erase the truth. We have to face it for what it is." As if provoked, the shadows shifted, forming a massive wall that loomed over them, suffocating and dark. The figure's eyes glinted with something sinister. Then face it you shall. With desperation fueling them, the trio stepped closer to the wall of shadows, hearts pounding as a cacophony of voices rose, a mixture of pleading and condemnation. Join us. Stay with us. They had crossed into something infinitely darker. The air thickened around them, a mist of faces filled with rage and sadness. In that moment of crushing emotion, a realization struck Thomas hard. Fear had been a prisoner of his own making, a key that could turn the lock of their shared suffering. Let us do this. He shouted, steeling himself to confront the looming shadows. As they prepared to face the abyss together, the storm roared, demanding a sacrifice. Would their bonds shatter under the weight of truth, or could they forge something stronger from the ashes of regret? And just beyond the dark, more secrets lingered, waiting to be unearthed. Would they have the strength to confront it all? Would they survive the storm? The moment they stood before the wall of shadows, a powerful tremor raced through Thomas. The air crackled with energy, charged by their collective fear and determination. The walls seemed to pulse, breathing in sync with their racing hearts, like a beast waiting for its chance to strike. Together Judas whispered, almost as if he needed to remind himself as much as the others. His voice trembled, soaked in doubt as the shadows rippled around them. Each flickering shape danced like a memory stitched with pain, pulling them deeper into the vortex of their own doubts. Suddenly, the figure tilted its head, its monstrous grin stretching wider, revealing jagged teeth. You think unity can shield you? It taunted, as the shadows began to coalesce around them tighter, suffocating and blurring their surroundings. You are equals in your despair. That binds you, but it also breaks you. Thomas stepped forward, the weight of urgency pushing him against the howling storm. Speak for yourself. We are stronger than our fears. He raised his fists, determined to combat the shadows, though the tremor in his hands betrayed the confidence in his voice. But as lightning flashed again, illuminating the dark, a new specter emerged from the dark, a haunting figure with a familiar face. It was Sarah, her eyes wide with sorrow and disappointment. You're not fighting for me anymore, are you? She asked, her voice breaking like glass. Sarah. No. Peter cried out, reaching forward as if her voice alone could pull them back from the edge. But the shadowy tendrils snaked around him, pulling him back, limiting his movement as memories flooded his mind like a chaotic tide. He could see the moments gone wrong, like a film playing in reverse, filled with shame and heartbreak. You could have saved me, her words echoed, sharp and cutting. But you were too lost in yourself. No. Peter shouted, crumpling under the weight of her accusation. I tried. I couldn't. I didn't know. The anguish twisted inside him. Despair is your only truth, Peter, the figure chuckled darkly, twisting its form, merging with the echoes of shattered promises that filled the air. Face it. You will hold on to this pain forever. With a surge of defiance, Thomas broke through the paralysis. We don't have to stay trapped. He grabbed Judas's arm, pulling him forward. We need to break through this together, or we'll drown in our pasts. But the storm raged incessantly, and the eerie laughter swirled around them like a cacophony of demons. The air was thick with wails of lost dreams, memories fueled with regret. Look closer. The figure beckoned with a sharp, swirling urgency. What have you truly lost? As if on cue, the scenery shifted, revealing flashes. Kinship turned into betrayal, love transformed into loss, each image sharper than the last. Thomas staggered, recognizing pieces of his own heart interwoven in every scene. This isn't who we are. We can change. We choose. Choice. The specter spat, its voice rising in a chilling crescendo. Do you think you have a choice? In a deafening beat, the shadows lunged, breaking into chaos. The power between them swirled violently as they grappled with their truth. Thomas felt a pulse of energy ignite within him, vibrating with the intensity of every emotion they suppressed. Together. He shouted again, clenching his fists in resolve, but doubt clung to each of them like a ghost. Would their unity be enough? Could they claim their identities back from the shadows? Or would this storm sweep them away forever? As the chaotic tempest swirled, one truth loomed above all else: if they didn't confront their deepest nightmares, they might just lose each other. What lay on the other side of their fears? Would they find salvation or eternal torment? Time was slipping, and the storm intensified, drawing them deeper into its dark embrace. The shadows howled around them, a swirling mass of darkness threatening to consume every spark of light left in their hearts. Thomas felt the pressure building, an unbearable tension suffocating him and the others. Focus, he urged, the word thick with desperation. We have to face it. We have to confront our fears. What if it's too late? Judas trembled, his voice cracking, the raw vulnerability exposed. Then we go down fighting. Peter shouted, pushing against the tendrils that restrained him. I want to let the past take me. Not again. With a fierce cry, he tore free, launching forward as shadows clawed at him, searching for the chinks in his resolve. The darkness swirled violently, current pulling him back. But he pressed on, fueled by the warmth of memories, both sweet and bitter, that coursed through him like a lifeline. The figure of Sarah twisted into something grotesque, her features warped but sorrow still palpable. You think you can rewrite our history? You can't escape your failures. She hissed, her voice echoing like a death knell in Peter's mind, gouging at his grief. As he stood in defiance, it hit him: the memories weren't just shackles, they were the foundation of who he had become. You're wrong, he screamed. Every moment has shaped me. I carry you with me, that's not a curse. Pay the toll for your scars, Peter. The dark figure shrieked, morphing into a swirling mass of anguished faces from his past friends he couldn't save, choices he regretted. Meanwhile, Thomas felt a pulse of energy from Judas, the small spark igniting something deep inside him. We need to dig deeper. Find that light within. Light? The specter sneered. Light only reveals the truth of your darkness. Judas hesitated, the shadows flickering at the edge of his consciousness. What if the truth is we're just failures? Chained to our regrets? Failure is not who we are. Thomas shouted, his voice fierce. It's part of the journey, but it does not define us. He closed his eyes for a moment, memories cascading over him, laughter, warmth, love. They surged into his heart, creating a shield against despair. With a roar, he pulled Judas and Peter toward him. We can break the hold. We owe it to ourselves to rise. The shadows hesitated, recoiling slightly at their unified defiance, and for a fleeting moment, the atmosphere shifted. The dark figure snarled, losing its composure as the light within the trio flickered brighter, illuminating their bond forged in history and shared pain. Together, they lunged forward, a surge of power spiraling from their intertwined hands. It felt tangible, almost electric, a thread connecting them to one another, and to the memories they embraced. The shadows screamed, as if recoiling from the purity of their shared strength. No! You defy your nature. Nature? Or choice? Judas shouted, conviction blazing in his eyes. We choose who we become. At that moment, a rift opened in the wall of shadows, fragments of light breaking through like a dawn on the horizon. It was beautiful and terrifying, a doorway to something beyond their wildest imaginations. Is it the way out? Peter asked, breathless, hope crackling in the air like static. Or the way deeper in? Thomas countered, uncertainty stinging against his courage. The shadows twisted and roared, unleashing a tempest around them, a last desperate stand to keep them trapped. But the light continued to pulse, revealing just enough to show that on the other side lay a potential for rebirth or devastating consequence. Ready? Judas said, heart pounding against his ribs, eyeing the rift as it quietly beckoned. As the last remnants of darkness clawed at their heels, they made their choice, yet, just as they stepped forward, a figure emerged from the flurry, a solitary shadow, distinct from the chaos, holding a familiar face cloaked in darkness. The moment hung pregnant with fear and uncertainty. Is this another test? Thomas whispered, dread gnawing at his composure. Or a reckoning? Judas replied slowly, as the figure stepped into the light, its true essence unseen. What was the truth of that face? Were they ready for the next trial, or would it shatter the fragile hope they had fought so hard to grasp? The shadows whispered promises of the past, luring them closer to a darkness that might consume them whole. The figure emerged slowly, the light catching glimpses of a familiar yet shrouded silhouette. In the flickering glow, facial features began to take shape, a smile etched with a hint of sorrow, eyes that seemed to contain their own storm, an echo from a distant memory. Sarah? Peter's voice trembled, uncertainty clinging to his words. Peter, she whispered, but the sound was jagged, layered with both affection and accusation. You've always run from the truth. Run? No. I've fought for you. Anger flared within Peter, clashing against his heartbreak. You don't understand. Do I not? Her ethereal form shifted, shadows curling and pulling at her like smoky tendrils. You only see what you want to see. But the truth comes at a price. Around them, the darkness surged, threatening to engulf the very fabric of their resolve. Thomas felt the tug of despair paralyze his limbs, a whisper in his mind taunting him, what if she's right? Focus. He urged, shaking off the fear. Look to the light. But Judas was transfixed, staring intently. It feels like she wants to warn us. What if we're about to make a grave mistake? Don't let it sway you. Thomas shouted, the tempest of shadows swirling dangerously close. Sarah's voice was hauntingly sweet, cutting through the chaos. You don't have to keep running. You need to remember. You owe it to yourself to confront what you've buried. The landscape around them twisted, as memories surged forth, images of laughter, shadowed by guilt, moments that could have been, interrupted by loss. Each ghostly encounter clawed at Peter's heart, tugging at the fragile threads of his courage. Stop! He shouted into the void. You're not real. You're just a shadow of my past. No. Sarah said, and the shadows quivered. I am you. Your fears, your pain, they're all part of this journey. You can't escape them, you can only confront them. With a sudden rush, betrayal soared within him. Is this really what you want? To drag me deeper into despair? Not despair, Peter. Clarity. Her figure morphed again, revealing other faces, friends, allies, even strangers who had met their end at the crossroads of his choices. Each one a skirmish in his battle with the past. They are all waiting for you to see, to feel. It's not too late to make it right. Around them, shadowy fingers clawed tighter, squeezing the breath out of Judas and Thomas. They can't take this from me. Judas gasped, his voice breaking, fight seeping away like a fleeting dream. Then stand firm, shouted Peter, rallying their strengths as he grasped Judas' hand tighter. His heart thundered, matching the pulse of the light that started to flicker anew, igniting a fire born of hope. Close your eyes. Thomas called, urging them to block out the intangible horror. Remember who you are. As they simultaneously shut their eyes, a flood of memories cascaded through their minds, victories won, bonds shared, moments of triumph over adversity. They steadied their breaths, to draw from that wellspring of light surging within. Together. Peter urged, determination echoing in the silence. They tightened their connection, igniting the brightness coursing through them. Please. Sarah begged, her voice pleading but fading, lost in the nearing storm of shadows. You can't ignore the truth. One last flash pierced through the truth that not all paths were set in stone. We choose who we become, he echoed Judas's earlier words, defiantly declaring it into the dark, but just as they prepared to leap across the rift, Sarah's shadow dissolved, her whisper hanging in the air, you may seek the light, but be wary it might sting. The rift widened, pulsating with an urgency that felt slightly off, ominous. What lay beyond was unclear, an invitation wrapped in dread. "Where do we go from here?" Judas asked, eyes wide, grappling with the uncertainty. "It doesn't matter." Peter's voice climbed, shaking with intensity. "We must confront whatever lies ahead." Behind them, the shadows roared. Everything they had forged and battled surged forward, a living wall of darkness and echoes, demanding to be heard. "Are we ready?" Thomas whispered, doubt blurring the line between hope and heartache. "Yes." They shouted in unison, throwing everything into the void they could not see. But then, as they leapt into the rift, an undeniable force jerked them back, casting them into a chasm that felt all too familiar. "What is happening?" Judas screamed, as they were thrown in every direction, darkness swallowing them whole, the past reverberating, taunting their every choice. The darkness roared louder, "You can't escape it. You'll pay for your choices." And just before they vanished into the abyss, echoes of laughter intertwined with screams resonated through the void, twisting into a cacophony of memories, drowning out reason. Had they just sealed their fate, or was this the beginning of a reckoning more profound than any could foresee? The darkness swallowed them whole, thick and stifling. Moments melted into one another, time becoming a muddled concept where guilt and fear intertwined. The swirling chaos felt alive, feeding off their uncertainty. Peter's heart raced as he struggled to find his footing in the endless void. "Judas! Thomas! Where are you?" His voice echoed, bouncing off unseen walls, swallowed by shadows. Panic coursed through him as the weight of isolation fell heavy on his chest. "Here." Thomas's voice, thin and strained, called out. "Hold on to each other." With sheer force of will, Peter channeled the memories that had sparked his courage, laughter shared, unity forged in hardship. They had fought side by side against countless storms. They could do this. "Grip my hand," he shouted. In the darkness, a hand grasped his, then another, anchoring them amid the uncertainty. Together, they formed a fragile chain, a lifeline tethered to hope, but as they joined forces, they felt a shift, a wild energy swirling around them. Confusion crackled through the air, intensifying the shadows pressing in. Something was waiting just beyond the abyss, something sinister. "Stay focused," Thomas urged, his voice trembling. "Don't let it break us apart." "Do you hear that?" Judas whispered, his voice a strained murmur, tension lacing the words. It's whispering." Peter strained to listen. The shadows around them began to take shape, voices rising in a discordant symphony. They were fragments of memories, lingering regrets that clawed at the edges of their consciousness. The guilt of decisions made, each choice now threatening to consume them. "You shouldn't have come back," a voice hissed, piercing through the haze. "You knew it would lead to this." "Shut up," Peter yelled, fiercely squeezing the hands of his companions. "We choose our path. We won't cower in the dark." But the whispers only grew louder, mocking laughter echoing from the other side. The shadows writhed, shifting as if eager to exploit their vulnerabilities. What if they had made the wrong choices? What if returning only deepened the wounds? "Focus on the light," Thomas bellowed, channeling everything he had, forcing his voice through the clamor. "Remember what holds us together." In that moment, something flickered, a distant glow, faint and fragile but undeniably present. It radiated warmth, cutting through the freezing dread that surrounded them. They could see glimpses of what lay beyond the darkness, flashes of their past mingling with what could be, futures bright and promising. "Do you see it?" Peter asked, his voice softening. "We can reach it." "Yes." Judas squeezed Peter's hand tightly, determination breaking through the fear. "No matter how far away it feels, we'll get there." With renewed vigor, they pulled against the darkness, the echo of their collective determination mingling with the light. Every step forward felt like pushing against a thick current, but they fought fiercely, their breath steadying as they drew closer to the glow. But just when hope seemed within their grasp, the shadows rumbled with fury. "You can't escape." They thundered, a cold anger filling the air. You're bound to this fate. You'll suffer for your choices. The light dimmed for a heartbeat, doubt slithering into their hearts like a venomous serpent. Peter's breath hitched, panic surging back. What if they were trapped in this torment forever? What if their past forced them to pay an unending price? Stay with me. Thomas shouted amidst the tumult, his voice a fierce fire. We're not defined by our past. We've got each other. Together. They roared back, pulling against the tide, hearts synchronized, the pulsing light illuminating their resolve. They surged toward the distant glow, shadows clawing but losing ground as they pressed on. As they raced forward, the laughter from the shadows turned to screams of rage. Just as they reached the threshold of the light, an explosion rattled the air. An unseen blast forced them backward, stretching their bond to the breaking point. Hold on. They cried, bracing against the force pulling them back. Dawn. Let go. Judas yelled again, but a wave of darkness surged once more. The distance to the light seemed insurmountable again. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, looming dimly between them and their escape. It raised arms, pointing an accusing finger. You think you can outrun your past? Think again, who was this specter that had returned from the dark? What more could the shadows reveal? As Peter stared into those piercing eyes, an icy grip squeezed his heart. The true reckoning had only just begun. The darkness roared like a beast awakening, each shadow brimming with energy, teetering on the edge of chaos. Peter's heart thudded, as he faced the accusing figure emerging from the gloom. His breath caught as the familiar silhouette sharpened into another layer of horror. It was the impossible, the face of the one they had lost, the one they had forsaken. Sarah! He gasped, shock rippling through him like lightning. She stood frozen, her eyes wide yet betrayed, holding the scars of all they had buried. Do you think your unity can shield you? Her voice echoed with blended remorse and bitterness. You think you can run from your choices? No, Thomas shouted defiantly, pulling Peter and Judas closer even as their fears poked at them relentlessly. We're not running anymore. We're confronting it. Peter's pulse raced as memories surged, laughter twisted with guilt, moments of joy interrupted by despair. Each facet of Sarah's face morphed, reflecting their own shame, every shadow a haunting reminder of what had been lost. Yet her expression flickered. Was it hope lingering beneath? Together, we can still find a way back. Judas yelled, his voice stepping into the void, shouting through layers of uncertainty. We can embrace the light even if it stings. Suddenly, the atmosphere thickened again, shadows swirling like a malevolent storm. You cannot escape the price your past demands. The figure hissed, an accusatory weight pressing heavily down on them all. With a fierce resolve, Thomas yelled, No. The past does not define us. We choose who we want to be today. He stepped forward, pulling his friends along, brimming with determination despite the overwhelming dread that tightened around them. We carry our regrets, but they make us stronger. Peter joined, his eyes aflame with newfound purpose. Each breath he took ignited courage within him. Sarah, I'm sorry. Don't apologize, she pleaded, her spectral form softening. Face it. Face what you did. Use it to shape who you are now. In each heartbeat, the turmoil thick with memories of despair and relief swirled around them, but they felt the light flicker anew, a beacon guiding their resolve. Take her words as a strength. Judas held fast to both men, braving the tempest. She's right, we need to own the things we've tried so hard to bury. Only then will we find true freedom. As if on cue, shadows writhed angrily. Your light cannot pierce this darkness. But the trio's strength shimmered. They lifted their heads, united, no longer cowering from their past but embracing it. They pressed forward, fists raised, determined to break the chains binding them to regret. Together. They cried, pushing against the shimmering dark, willing the shadows to recoil. The pulse of their hearts thudded in sync, each beat igniting their shared light, hope intertwined with resolve, and with every push forward, the brightness grew. A blinding surge of light burst forth, shattering the grip of the shadows. Peter felt warmth wrap around them, lifting each lingering doubt. The darkness shrieked, hanging on like brittle vines, clawing against their escape, fraying under the radiant intensity they summoned. Now! Break through! Thomas shouted, and without hesitation, they surged toward that shattering light, a passage woven from their truths, their pain, and their will. With one final plea, Sarah's voice echoed softly, becoming part of the wind. You are not lost. You are found. The energy engulfed them, and they soared into the light, a swirling vortex of memories, sorrows transformed into strength. The walls of darkness vibrated, and they felt the surge of liberation coursing through them as they emerged into something new, a horizon stretching before them. As dawn broke across the landscape, illuminating everything in hues of gold, warmth filled their chests. They were no longer haunted by shadows, but reborn from them, forged by understanding and acceptance. Look! Judas breathed, his voice trembling as they stood in the awakening light. It was a new day, a chance to create a future free from the burdens of their past. Peter breathed deeply. We did it, we faced it all. Yes, Thomas nodded, resolution lingering in the air, but we must carry that lesson forward. The past is part of who we are, but it's not the end. They embraced, the burden of their secrets and fears fading, replaced by a strong bond forged in adversity. They had risen above the darkness, a powerful testament to their unity and resilience. As the sun rose higher, they made a silent promise to honor their journey and support one another. Redemption was not merely about escaping shadows, it was a pathway of self-discovery. Let us go, Peter finally said, and they walked forward together, three friends, emboldened by truth, ready to face whatever the future would hold. You need to subscribe now to catch all our upcoming exclusive stories. Trust me, you don't want to miss a single moment. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your thoughts. I want to hear your reactions and theories about this epic finale. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this conclusion unfolds. It's time to spread the message.